They said it was coincidence. That was the word everyone used. Casual, accidental, nothing to see here. And for a moment, people believed it. After all, coincidences happen every day. Two people wearing similar colors. Two stars arriving at the same venue minutes apart. Two smiles exchanged in passing. In isolation, none of it meant anything. But fandoms are not built on isolation. They are built on patterns. The moment in question didn't explode immediately. It arrived quietly, like a whisper that refused to fade. A short clip surfaced online, filmed from the side of a crowded venue. The quality wasn't great. The angle wasn't perfect. And maybe that was why it felt real. Dylan Wang stood near the edge of the room, hands in his pockets, posture relaxed but alert. Shen Yue entered from the opposite side, speaking with staff, nodding politely, doing the familiar dance of public appearances. Nothing unusual, until she looked up. The second their eyes met, something changed. It wasn't dramatic. No gasp. No frozen moment that screamed romance. It was subtler than that, and maybe that's why it unsettled people. Dylan smiled first. Not his public smile. Not the one reserved for cameras. It was small, immediate, instinctive. Shen Yue's step faltered. Not enough to draw attention, but enough to notice if you were looking closely. She smiled back softer, like she'd been let on a private joke no one else could hear. They didn't move toward each other right away. They didn't wave. They didn't acknowledge each other openly. And yet, the air between them felt occupied. Fans replayed the clip frame by frame. That's nothing, some said. Just friends. Others weren't so sure. Why did he straighten immediately? Someone asked. Why did she look down after smiling? Another noticed. That's when the questions began. Coincidences don't usually invite this many questions. As the event continued, the camera caught more fragments. Dylan shifting positions when Shen Yue moved closer. Shen Yue adjusting her stance to face him without fully turning. A shared laugh that came a beat too late for whatever joke had been told. Humor found its way into the conversation quickly, as it always does when fans try to manage their feelings. One comment read, "I look at my friends like that when they bring food." Another replied, "If that's friendship, I've been doing it wrong my whole life." But beneath the jokes was curiosity, because the moment didn't feel planned, and it didn't feel performative. Educationally speaking, this is where human behavior becomes interesting. Psychologists talk about microexpressions and orientation bias, the way people unconsciously turn toward those they feel connected to. You can't fake it easily, and you definitely don't remember to perform it under bright lights and busy schedules. Dylan and Shen Yue weren't doing anything obvious, which somehow made it louder. They said it was coincidence when reporters asked. Schedules overlap. Industry circles are small. Friends run into each other all the time. Logical answers. Sensible answers. But fans noticed what wasn't said. No one denied familiarity. No one looked surprised. More clips surfaced. A candid photo. A shared glance reflected in a mirror. A moment where Dylan stepped aside so Shen Yue could pass, his hand lifting slightly as if to guide her, stopping just short contact. That pause, right there, became the center of everything. Why stop? If it was nothing, why hesitate? Humor again softened the edges. Fans joked that the pause deserved its own fan club. Someone wrote, "That hand almost started a global discussion." Another added, "My Wi-Fi connection was stronger than their restraint." But restraint was the point. In many cultures, especially in East Asian celebrity spaces, restraint is not absence. It's intention. The things not done matter as much as the things that are. Fans know this instinctively, even if they can't articulate it. Coincidence doesn't require restraint. Awareness does. As days passed, people started connecting dots, not wildly but carefully. Past interviews resurfaced. Dylan once mentioned appreciating people who made silence comfortable. Shen Yue had said she valued people who didn't rush her. Those comments had seemed generic at the time. Now they felt oddly specific. Educators of media literacy would say, this is narrative reconstruction, when new information reshapes how old data is understood. Fans call it, wait, that makes sense now. Still, not everyone agreed. Some pushed back, insisting the fandom was reading too much into nothing. And they weren't wrong to caution against overinterpretation. But curiosity doesn't always need certainty to exist. What made this moment linger wasn't the idea of romance. It was the authenticity. Nothing about it screamed intended. Nothing felt rehearsed. At another public appearance weeks later, the two stood farther apart, professional, neutral, and yet, when Shen Yue laughed at something someone else said, Dylan laughed too, half a second later, like he was tuned to her frequency. Coincidence again? Maybe. But coincidence doesn't usually repeat with such consistency. Humor returned in waves. At this point, coincidence is working overtime, someone joked. Another commented, if this is accidental, it's the most emotionally intelligent accident I've ever seen. Yet the conversation matured. Fans weren't demanding answers. They weren't pushing narratives aggressively. They were observing, reflecting, enjoying the mystery. And that's something worth noting. This moment taught fans something. Quietly, that connection doesn't always announce itself with declarations. Sometimes it shows up in timing, in pauses, in the way someone's attention shifts before they realize it has. In educational terms, it's a lesson in perception. Humans are remarkably good at sensing authenticity, even through screens. We may disagree on meaning, but we recognize sincerity when we see it. Dylan and Shen Yue never addressed the moment directly. No clarifications. No jokes about it. Just continued professionalism, continued kindness, continued presence. And perhaps that was the most telling part. Because if it truly meant nothing, it would have faded quickly. Instead, it lingered, softly, persistently, like a question without urgency. They said it was coincidence. Maybe it was. But coincidences don't usually make people pause mid-scroll. They don't invite replays. They don't spark thoughtful debate wrapped in humor and warmth. This moment did. And sometimes, stories don't need conclusions to be meaningful. Sometimes, the questions are the point. A glance, a pause, a hand that almost reached out, coincidence or not. It reminded fans why they watched so closely. Not to intrude, but to witness the quiet poetry of human connection. And in a world that moves fast and explains everything, there's something beautiful about a moment that simply asks us to look again.